Cheers. Welcome to episode 10 of Coffee with Hiretual. Today we have an amazing discussion lined up. We're going to go into the depths of recruitment technology and how you're going to get buy-in from your leadership teams, from your team members as well. Really fun discussion in store with Noah Wisnia, who's the head of talent at Dumpling. He also has more than 10 years of experience in the talent acquisition space. So he has lots to share with us today. How are you doing, Noah?
I'm doing good. And actually, an update I will be joining Kasa Living as their director of talent on Monday. My contract with Dumpling ended successfully, and really, really excited to publicly announce with Hiretual first and foremost that I'm making a big career change and joining an amazing team.
Oh, that's so awesome to hear. Thank you so much. And, really exciting that you're sharing the news with us first as well. It's my first time hearing it too. So that really sets the mood for the episode that we have in store today. I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to jump right into our introduction. Noah, you have a ton of experience working both in-house and agency recruitment. And, we both know you're a big expert in recruitment technology and using different tools in the market. So to kick this episode off, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your whole entire journey in the talent acquisition space?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that question, whether it's an interview or just getting to know me, because they look at my background and they go, wait a minute, you can take phones and computers apart. You went to school for computer science. You were a product manager. Why did you become a recruiter? It's like, well, funny story. It makes me a really good candidate advocate as well as a good hiring manager advocate, because I've not only been in the shoes of somebody doing the career transition, which I'm happy to explain, but I've also worked with the hiring managers and shipped the products with the engineers that I hire a lot of people for to work on now in tech recruiting and general startup recruiting. Long story short, like so many people, and especially like right now in COVID, my career journey in product kind of ended because the demands of the market were in SaaS product, and I just didn't have product and SaaS experience combined. I had plenty of product, plenty of project, plenty of technical. And so that gap led me to a point in my career where I had to say, like, what do I love? What do I hate? And what bothers me? And what really had bothered me through that product journey and through a couple of different career transitions, fighting my way, working my way into startups, was that, you just don't understand what's happening in the startup ecosystem and the hiring ecosystem. And it kind of stuck with me and ultimately took me down a path of going back to the recruiters that were really exceptional and looking at some of the recruiters that really have been pretty unexceptional in my experience, and got me really thinking, hey, there's got to be process and procedure here, married with my technical background, that could really turn into something. And lo and behold, it has. It's been a really amazing run in talent where I've accelerated quickly with some of that technical and people knowledge into the talent space. And here I am trying to change the game one step at a time, one tool at a time.
Right, that's awesome. And, like you said, you have such an extensive technical background. And my next question kind of dives a little bit deeper into that marriage of your technical background with how you're using that to transform talent. So, you've been in the talent acquisition space for a long time. And so I'm pretty sure you've seen firsthand just how much the recruitment technology market has grown over the past decade as well. I mean, this year in particular, the demand for digitization because of the pandemic has skyrocketed. Everyone's talking about it. We hear about it all the time. And I guess I want to hear with from you, someone with your experience. What do you think is the most important thing hiring teams need to remember when it comes to expanding their investment in recruitment technology during this time? Because everyone's kind of scrambling for it right now.
Yeah, I think that the really important thing to answer your question is actually a little counterintuitive. Technology doesn't fix people and process problems. It will help improve them if you fix them, and it will help exacerbate them if you don't. So when I say that, I say it to mean technology will not fix if you're doing something poorly in your hiring funnel. Technology will not fix if you're doing something from a people perspective or from a relationship perspective that is just fundamentally rooted in the wrongs of talent and hiring. An example of this could be you have too many people in the interview process or not enough people in the interview process. So the candidate either feels begrudgingly like they're going interview to interview to interview, or they feel like they have hardly gotten to know you. Tech can't fix that problem. What the technology space has done, especially in the last 5 years, with a deep injection from venture capital into tools like Hiretual and many other providers, is what they've done is brought to the forefront that technology is something that can really augment and improve the talent space. It can mean that we spend the time fixing the relationships, fixing the processes, and let the tools take the burden of some of that difficult work, the sourcing, the hours spent, the organization of projects and those types of things. I think that answers your question.
Yeah. And you hit a couple of those use cases as well about how technology can kind of best improve that efficiency. So let's talk a little bit more about a real life example of how you use these tools to empower your recruitment process. You're no stranger to Hiretual. You're an awesome user. You've been with us through, so many rapid improvements to the product, especially years. How do you use tools like Hiretual to really build a lean funnel and maximize efficiency?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to what I was just saying and tying into your question. I first need to understand my customer. My customer is the hiring manager. My customer is the candidate. And so I need to understand what I'm hiring for and why I'm hiring for that. That goes to kind of a process of building a deeper internal conversation where we say, don't just open a role, but really talk about what's missing in the team and why we're hiring for this role and what kind of things this person's going to work on. Where technology then layers in is inviting those people that traditionally maybe would just go scrounging through their network, which is great. Referrals are powerful, or traditionally would just go poking through the internet, hoping to find the person that they're looking for. And it turns it into a real meaningful exercise, right? The technology piece and where we bring tools like Hiretual in are to say, now I'm not the only sourcer if I'm a team of one. As a full desk recruiter, even as a talent leader, I can get my hiring managers working through a funnel with me. I can do some of the heavy lifting of filling that funnel with the right people in the first place, and then they can filter down. So what tools and technology like Hiretual have really enabled is the ability for us to lift up the talent function, but in addition to empower our team to have a more organized, more structured, more measurable process. And I think that's really where I want to kind of pin the ask of your question is what these tools like Hiretual do for us is in the right scenario with the right needs, they let us be accountable to our time and our actions. I'll be the first one to say I know we're on coffee with Hiretual, but there's plenty of other tools out there. And it's really, really important that in your tool selection process, you understand what your problems are within your need to use technology to ease your burden, ease your time, and that little bit of money you'll spend on a tool, in contrast to hiring a whole person, having to train them. Maybe they're not very good at that role. Maybe they don't have as much dynamic capability as a tool does. There's always a trade-off. I believe in giving people jobs, but I believe in also having the right tools and the right measurements on those tools and the people using them so you can hold each other accountable, not to who did a good or bad job, but the facts, the basics, the numbers. Given our current election season, I think the importance of counting everything carefully and understanding what that means is definitely underpinned in more place than just hiring. So I digress. That's kind of my shtick when it comes to tools like Hiretual. That's what you got to use them for, is being able to be accountable.
Exactly. And that's awesome. I agree with you 100%. And I love how you kind of brought up, how these tools are used, by different users in that team. And when it comes to
Yeah.
investing in tools, it really hits, does everyone on your team know how to use it right? Does everyone in your team kind of, are they able to really maximize that the best way? And so that kind of leads up to our next question. So, we've had a couple virtual events this year, kind of talking about, technology, how to digitize the process, how to be a modern recruiter. And the common question that pops up is always the same: how do I get buy in from my team and from leadership? So, empowering buy in through users, it's an important concept we strive for. So, can you walk us through the process of building out this plan to push for team buy in on technology?
In order to get the technology and the buy-in, you really need to understand your stakeholders. You really need to understand their choke points, and you really need to speak to those issues with them. And as you do that, what you're going to find is there's going to be levers to say, well, if we spend a little bit of money on technology, I can do this X more efficiently or Y more efficiently. Whether that's the amount of time you spend sourcing or how efficient you are with sourcing or how accurate you are. These tools are there to save you the hard work of doing what I call the long division, right? We all know how to use a calculator, but if you can show somebody a little bit of that long division, they're going to be much more likely to let you buy that calculator. And so that's the idea at the end of the day is how do you really get to somebody's motivation and then sell them the value of tools and sell them the value of the impact those tools will have. Make it a bottom line thing. We spend $1 million if we do X, we spend $500,000 if we do Y. The technology, although it costs money now, will save us money in the long term.
Exactly. And I agree with you 100%. I know that we got a lot of feedback from people that are saying, my leadership isn't comfortable with AI. They aren't comfortable with automation. They think that it's going to replace jobs. And I think you kind of hit that right off the bat that, there are certain things that we need to prove to them. There is an ROI that we need to showcase to leadership. And that leads to my next question as well. We covered a lot of ground today, in terms of what do you need to track, when you get these technology tools? What should you show your team to kind of build that business case for it? So to summarize this episode up, from your perspective, as we're preparing for 2021 and this new adaptive flexible workforce, people are investing in technology. What are the top 3 things that you think hiring teams and stakeholders need to pay attention to when they're determining the ROI for a particular tool?
To hire, the longer that time is, even for larger, slower moving businesses, the worse off you are. Time to hire absolutely be reduced by tools, because what are they doing? They're making you more efficient, whether it's a scheduling tool, a messaging tool,
a research tool. These tools are really there to make you more efficient.
I think that's one. Number two is cost per hire. It's really difficult to calculate, but with a cost per hire, what's really important is understanding how many people on your team are spending how much time interviewing on average, how many candidates that is to get to the one that you offer, and push that number against how a tool actually helps you lower that cost, whether it's more streamlined funnel, whether it's more accurate search, whether it's finding the right people more quickly in that search. I think those two things are very, very important when it comes directly to the tools. And I think the last thing is, again, goes to what I said at the very beginning. If you're going to invest in tools, make sure that you're investing in the team and the people and the relationships first. Get very clear, be completely uncompromising about these are the profiles we want, these are the profiles we don't. Everybody is on the same page, and tools can help you do that. I'm not saying they can't, but you need to first say, before we decide Winona or Noah are right for this job as a profile on the internet, we need to say, what is the thing that we are hiring for? Not who, but what. What is missing as a skill set? Now let's go and find who is the most aligned to that. Stop searching for the purple squirrels and the unicorns and the rock stars. Those are terms of old that do not belong in today's more inclusive and diverse society, because they sound wrong to a lot of people, and they are wrong to a lot of people. We're really looking for somebody is a fitted glove to the role that we have, and by defining the role and not being assumptive about who fits it, you'll be more likely to find the right people with those tools more efficiently, because you're aligned and you're streamlined with what you're looking for.
So we do have a final question, just to kind of end this episode off on a positive note and to really summarize everything that we've covered today. What are some final words of advice that you have for those in the space who want to achieve success with their recruitment technology?
Yeah, you might hate me for this one, but I have to say it. You need to hold your vendors to high standards, right? Whether you're working with Hiretual or somebody else, you need to ask them for what you need. And if you are sure that's what you need to be uncompromising and clear about that. You also need to partner with your vendors. Give them the feedback that they need to really improve their product to meet your needs. It might not be today. I've been a Hiretual user for 5 years running. It's pretty much as long as the company's been around that I knew about it. I've seen huge amounts of evolution, and some of that's from our candid conversations and our disagreements about the right way to build things and do things. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with healthy disagreement, so long as we understand what we're all trying to do, which is get to a better place in talent. I think that's one thing that's extremely important for success. And the other thing is trust your vendors and trust your partners, and reach out to other people in your industry and do it in a thoughtful way. Do it in a constructive and personalized way to say, hey, I'm actually looking to build a long-term relationship with you. Every candidate, every person that says no to me for some reason in my processes, I say, that's okay. Let's connect for a time when our paths do cross. In the meantime, if you ever have a question about X, Y, and Z that I'm an expert in, my doors are open to you. What I'm doing is creating that value long-term, so that when I come back and need something from them again, they know I've created that value for them too. All in all, we need to kind of practice what politics, as I said earlier, is failing right now, and in the spirit of the election, which is work to be more together regardless of who's in power, or work to be more together regardless of who says yes or no to technology and innovation. Those are the kind of principles that I think are going to help us in a lot more ways than just hiring.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Noah. I think everything that you shared today was just so insightful, and it hit so many questions that, us, the Hiretual team, we've been receiving in really just bucket loads this year, especially so if our audience has any more questions for you, if they want to connect with you further after this episode, what are the best places to reach you at?
Yeah, I'm getting much more active on Twitter, so it's just at Wisnia, Wisnia, so Nwisnia. And then obviously, I'm a recruiter. I live on LinkedIn. If it becomes a more lengthy conversation, I'll ask you to send it to my work or personal email. My doors are wide open. And also, I know Hiretual's working on evolving this, but they have the Facebook group now, and I'm forgetting exactly where the group's moving to next. Winona, maybe but reach me there as well. if you have questions about the tool, if you have questions about when I do use it, even questions about when I push the team and say, hey, I need to use another tool if you can't do something, I think being really objective is actually the thing that's going to make you a better partner and Hiretual a better partner for you. And so those are the best ways to reach me: LinkedIn, Twitter, or through the Hiretual forums.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Noah. And I will be dropping that link to the Hiretual group as well in the description of this video. Again, thank you so much for all your interest today. It's been such an amazing conversation. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you for being on Coffee with Hiretual.
Thanks, Winona. Cheers.